Hello and welcome to Nick's Nerd News. This is where you come to listen to breaking news when it comes to the nerd world. That means we have breaking video game news, movie news, and TV news. If you want to hear about the latest games, the latest movies, and everything else, stick around. Because here's your host, Nick, from a tiny studio in San Diego.
What up, guys? I am back. From vacation. So what does that mean? We have a double stuffed episode because Dan and Sean, shout out to them. Thank you guys for hosting. I really appreciate it while I was gone. I know they kind of recorded very closely to when I recorded, so there wasn't a lot of overlap, a lot of new stuff, which it happens. I appreciate it nonetheless. So we got a lot of double stuff to talk about. Got 2 weeks worth of news to talk about on this week's episode. So there's a lot of big stories. I'm going to give my full thoughts on Battlefront 2 and what it means for Battlefront 3 and like my full opinion on that. Really, I really am. Avengers was delayed. Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars were delayed about 6 months each. That's huge. That's a huge delay. We're going to talk about the Harry Potter show finding its trio. They have officially found their trio in Harry, Ron, and Hermione. Marvel and DC are collaborating on a comic for the first time in over 20 years. That's huge news. And it's not an amalgam or anything. It's a full-on crossover. We're going to talk about... there's so many different things going on. We're going to talk about it all. Pokemon Legends ZA got a release date today. I think today might even be the 6th anniversary of the show as well. Yeah, we had our anniversary a couple weeks ago. Completely blew by me on that one. We are 6 years in, folks. So we got a lot to break down. I even went to a theme park. I'm just going to get it out of the way right now. Because I was on vacation, I did not play Doom the Dark Ages, so I do not have any coverage on that for you guys this week. And because of the double stuffed episode, I didn't go see, and because I was out of town, I did not see Mission Impossible. So next week, I hope to have full kind of coverage on both of those things. I just want to get that out of the way now so you guys know. Because of how it worked and because of me on vacation. But anyway, I don't want to waste any more time because we have a lot of things to talk about. Let's get right into the news, shall we? And we're going to start off with video game news, as we always do. But before we do, one more thing. Why don't you head over to nicksnerdnews.com? That is the one-stop shop for all things Nick's Nerd News. You can listen to the show right in your browser, or you can take us on the go, because I got links. All the links to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and YouTube. Right? Also, check out the social media tab. We're on Twitter. We're on Instagram. We're on Threads. We got a Facebook. And guess what? YouTube's also a social media site. What? Anyway. Let's not waste any more time and get straight to the news, shall we? All right, so let's start off with Pokemon coverage. The Pokemon Fossil Museum, and if you're wondering what that is, I had to look it up too. The Pokemon Fossil Museum is a traveling like show that features literally fake Pokemon fossils. Will be coming to the United States next year, a year from now exactly. It debuted in Japan, and it puts like the fabricated Pokemon fossils next to like actual real dinosaur fossils. And it will be coming to Chicago's Field Museum on May 22nd, 2026. This will be the first time it has traveled beyond the Japanese islands. And quote, during your visit, you'll see vibrant Pokemon models side by side with extinct life forms from the Field Museum's collection, including scientific casts of Field Museum dinosaurs like Sue the T-Rex and the Chicago Archaeopteryx, next to fossil Pokemon like Tyrantrum and Archaeops. How many differences and similarities will you spot, trainers? Unquote. And that's an official release from the museum. Excuse me, guys, I've been congested since my trip, so if I struggle a bit or if I sound a little muted, that's why. I just want you guys to know. But I wonder, so this stuff is available to view online if you aren't able to travel to Chicago or anything like that. Honestly, I would make a trip to Chicago for this. This is something, I've only been to Chicago once, and I didn't really get to fully explore. But that's definitely something I would like. I would go to Chicago for this. That's for damn sure. But there you guys go. The Pokemon Fossil exhibit is coming to the United States for the first time ever. Square Enix also decided to show even more off of Kingdom Hearts 4. They still haven't given a release date or anything like that, but they did show off their new GPS mobile action RPG game, which is called Kingdom Hearts Missing Link. But they wanted to assure fans that they were, quote, hard at work, saying, quote, we're currently working hard on Kingdom Hearts 4 and will continue pouring ourselves into the game's development. We're dedicated to making this an experience that lives up to your expectations, unquote. That was a post that they revealed on social media. On a second post, they showed off some images of the game, but some people think that there was a hint at Star Wars there. I don't know. It's obviously showing off the more realistic look that was teased in the original first trailer. Maybe we get to play as Mickey from what it looks like. I don't know, but it's definitely, like I said, a much more realistic approach than the previous games, which were very stylized. Still no release date or anything like that. I don't understand what they're doing here. Doug Bowser, president of Nintendo of America, he's not the U.S. president, has kind of come out to assuage fans' fears of not having enough consoles. Doug Bowser was interviewed by IGN and was asked, this was at the opening of the Nintendo store in San Francisco, one of the first in the U.S. on the West Coast. And he said, quote, Mr. Furukawa last week announced that we'll have 15 million units in our forecast for Nintendo Switch 2 and 4.5 million units for Nintendo Switch during the fiscal year. That forecast was really driven by wanting to match, if you will, what we accomplished with Nintendo Switch in the first 10 months of its release. As we look at our plans here in the U.S., we do believe we'll have the production and supply that will allow us to meet consumer demand. We know there's been strong positive reaction to Nintendo Switch 2 early on, and we've seen that through our pre-orders. But we do have a plan to have a continuous flow of product that will be available through the holidays, unquote. So what that is telling me either is that demand isn't as high for the Switch 2 as it was for the original, or that Nintendo actually made sure that they increased production to be ready to go for the Switch 2 so they wouldn't have a situation that Sony and Microsoft had in 2020 and continued to plague them for years after with the consoles. We also learned a bit more about game cards for Switch 2 and how those are going to work. I'm still quite hesitant to agree with what they're doing, but because they're game key cards and not necessarily the game on the card, which is very strange. So it's like you don't really have a physical version of the game, which is not good. So Street Fighter 6 and Bravely Default will have this feature. Mario Kart World and Donkey Kong Bonanza will be the full game, apparently. And Cyberpunk 2077, which is coming to Switch 2, will be on the cartridge. Again, it's still strange that who's doing it and who's not and how it's going to work. I just... Physical media is still king, and I don't want to see them back away from it. It's very, very strange indeed, this practice that they're doing. They're claiming it's to allow third-party publishers to have beefier specs so they don't have to put it all on a game cartridge, but these are like SD cards, essentially. You could put a lot of shit on SD cards nowadays. Netflix has opened up about their adaptation of Gears of War, saying it is still in the works, but we do now have a director for it. David Leitch famously directed Atomic Blonde, Deadpool 2, Hobbs and Shaw, Bullet Train, and The Fall Guy has signed on to direct Gears of War for Netflix. Leitch and Kelly McCormick will be producing alongside the Coalition. John Spates, who wrote Dune, is writing the script. We still don't know who's playing Marcus Phoenix or anything like that. Even though Dave Bautista really wants to play Marcus Phoenix, we still do not know who the cast is, but at least we have a director, and it means it's more real than it ever was before. Strauss Zelnick gave a big interview recently, talking about quite a few different things, and this was mostly in their investors Q&A. Strauss Zelnick was optimistic about putting their games on the Switch 2, Take-Two Interactive Games, of course. They're launching 4 titles, more than they ever have on a Switch. They're bringing Civilization 7, NBA 2K, WWE 2K, and Borderlands 4 is allegedly going to be launching on Switch 2 when the game launches. He also spoke about the development of Grand Theft Auto 6 and did say that GTA 6's development began in earnest, quote, in earnest, in 2020 following the success of Red Dead Redemption 2. So they've only been working on it for just about 5 years, which realistically, that's a long time now. Granted, I feel like every AAA game takes 5 years or more at this point. But obviously we know now that it was delayed to May of 2026, so it will be a 6-year development essentially. But in earnest is hinting that it's possible that they were working on it even before 2020. Obviously, the pandemic and the work from home changes and workflow changes all around the world probably impacted development to some degree. They think that the delay is a worthy investment, which I think is good. He even clarified that saying the delay was important, even though earlier in the year he was confident that it would hit its release date this year. Strauss Zelnick was interviewed again around this Q&A with the investors, and he had this to say, saying, quote, "As we get closer to completion of a title that's seeking perfection, the needs or lack thereof for continued polish become clear. In this case, there was an opportunity with a small amount of incremental time, we thought, to make sure Rockstar Games achieves its creative vision with no limitations, and I supported, of course, that approach," unquote. There you go. They're not worried about their financials, and they feel that the delay was worthy, which I'm fine with. I'm fine with that. I really am. Lego has shut down an ambitious fan project after 8 years, which is strange that they let it get this long, which makes me think something else is happening. Most companies don't go after fan projects unless they're getting too close to something. Bionicle Masks of Power was going to be an open-world action RPG inspired by Horizon Zero Dawn of all games. Was going to feature the legendary Toa. Tahu is a Toa. The Toa. I love Bionicle. It's one of my favorite Lego properties ever, and it sucks that it's kind of died out. But a lot of the developers have been working on it for 8 years. Trailers have come out. Lego kind of knew. But all of a sudden, Lego now has kind of stepped in and pulled the plug on it. The developers team Konoe said that they had been contacted by the Lego group and told to shut down the project, quote, in its entirety, unquote, and remove it from the public eye. They weren't given any other specifics or anything like that. Maybe the developers think that it became too close to an official product, and maybe Lego didn't want to be associated with it, or if anything happened. The Steam page was removed. Nothing else was there. A lot of people think that maybe something is going to happen with Bionicle in Fortnite, or a new set, or a new game. But it really sucks that this happened, because we never got Bionicle came out at like a weird time where it was a perfect set for it to come out, and it captured people's attention. But like, you could have made epic movies or games around it, and it came out in the early 2000s where that wasn't really a big thing. Like, there was a couple Bionicle games, but realistically, they kind of sucked. So, yeah, that's what's happening there. I wonder, though, it really makes me wonder if Lego's finally going to do something with Bionicle again. Hideo Kojima, who loves movies, if you guys didn't know, Death Stranding 2 is about to come out, but he finally has said that he's ready to take on directing a film. Just not yet, even though he said he's ready. He said he won't do it, though, until he's done with his upcoming PlayStation game Fizzant, but it's still 5 or 6 years away, allegedly. He was interviewed by Le Film Français about his aspirations to direct, saying, quote, "I've had so many offers since I left Konami, with serious conditions to develop games in my independent studio. Besides Death Stranding 2, there's also Fizzant in development that will take me another 5 or 6 years. But maybe after that, I could finally decide to take on a film. I grew up with cinema. Directing would be, in a way, a tribute to it. Also, I'm getting older, and I'd prefer to do it while I'm still young," unquote. So there you go. Hideo is finally ready to make a movie, just not for 5 or 6 years. That means you're not ready, my guy. So Bungie, deep in development on Marathon, might have a problem, because they've been kind of doing damage control lately, as plagiarism was found in art. And this is not the first time Bungie has gotten in trouble for using plagiarism or stealing art. I don't want to say it's stealing. It pretty much is. It may have been an accident. I don't know. But as of right now, it's straight up plagiarism. So it is stealing. Again, it's not the first time. It's really bad. It was art from a former Bungie artist that had left the studio, and that artist's art made its way into promotional material and into the game. Bungie has apologized and made light of the situation, but it's still not good. And the alpha for the game that was released that people were able to play did not do what it was supposed to do. but Bungie is struggling hard. I wonder what will happen with this game given this news now and how it will arrive and be in the minds of players and gamers alike. People online are obviously thinking that the game might be dead on arrival, but we'll see what happens and how Bungie recovers. Gamescom is the only official major, and when I say major, I mean huge gaming convention that's still on the calendar every year. That takes place in August in Germany every year. We've learned that Nintendo is returning to Gamescom after skipping in 2024. What this means, nobody really knows, but a lot of people are hoping that it means big announcements for the Switch 2. We need to talk about the AI Darth Vader, and I know Sean and Dan touched on it a little bit last week, and luckily it's been patched. But this is me hating on Fortnite again, and I know I always do. But they put in an AI Darth Vader companion that you could talk to, and it started spewing hate speech, derogatory things, profanity. I don't want to hear Darth Vader talking about Riz or using the F word or anything like that, because that's not what Darth Vader is. And if it's written by an official Lucasfilm thing, that's different. But when it's spewing out like fucking brain rot garbage, no. That's where I draw the line. This is my problem with AI, right? When you allow people to talk to AI like this, it starts doing stupid fucking shit. And it would talk like that, right? And it started spewing hate speech and other nonsense because people could talk to it and it would answer questions. And they were using, I know James Earl Jones gave his rights to Lucasfilm and Disney to use it, but I don't think in this manner. And so much so that the Screen Actors Guild, SAG-AFTRA, is suing, or at least filed an unfair labor practice charge over it, which I fully support in this. They filed it with the National Labor Relations Board, and that they allege over the last 6 months, Llama Productions, which is owned by Epic Games, has failed to bargain in good faith with SAG-AFTRA as the video game actors and made, quote, unilateral changes to terms and conditions of employment without providing notice to the union or the opportunity to bargain by utilizing AI-generated voices to replace bargaining unit work, unquote. And yeah, and it's all because of this AI Darth Vader. I just, yeah, it patched it immediately, or Fortnite had to patch it almost immediately because he was saying outrageous things. So it's fucking stupid, and I'm glad they're going after them, and I really hope it gets taken out. But I just, and this is what people are really mad about. And Epic, the most profitable gaming company, isn't paying real voice actors to do stuff and instead is using AI. Like, really? It flies in the face, and this is why SAG-AFTRA is still on strike with gaming companies. It's really ridiculous, is what it is. I'm happy they fixed it to a degree, but I think it needs to be gone completely. And Star Wars gets deeper and deeper and deeper into Fortnite. Fortnite's going to take over everything, and it's really fucking ridiculous. Randy Pitchford is out of touch, and he made that very clear about what he said in regards to Borderlands potentially being an $80 game, which at this point I think it is going to be an $80 game. And he said this, quote, if you're a real fan, you'll find a way to make it happen, unquote. And that is the most out-of-touch billionaire bullshit I've ever heard. And I don't care what kind of backstepping you're going to say can fix that. Because that's almost like telling a junkie to get their fix. If you're a dealer, right? You're like, you'll find a way to make it happen. Like, are you fucking kidding me, dude? People are struggling. You'll find a way to make it happen if you're real. You're equating their fandom with their wallet now. I don't like that. Your people are a fan regardless if they can afford it or not. You can't equate their fandom with what they can afford. That's outrageous. Yeah, I that is outrageous. In a and this was in response to a fan on social media saying, quote, someone asked, quote, Randy, this game better not be $80. Don't take that risk. A lot of gamers aren't going to pay $80 and feed this notion of constant increase of the price tag. You are the CEO. You have some say with the price when it comes to your publisher, unquote. Randy responded saying, quote, A, not my call. B, if you're a real fan, you'll find a way to make it happen. My local game store had Starfight for Sega Genesis for $80 in 1991 when I was just out of high school working minimum wage in an ice cream parlor in Pismo Beach, and I found a way to make it happen, unquote. Obviously, people went way off. Just comments like in this economy and just everything in regards to that. He did apologize. I don't think that he made... I don't think his follow-up was any better. Saying, quote, if you want the truth, here it is, unquote. Let me see. He tweeted out something about Devolver Digital. And so Devolver said, quote, you're going to be able to buy Mycopunk for you and 3 of your friends for the price of 1 copy of Borderlands 4, unquote, which is one of their new games that I think is maybe, it's a Borderlands-style game. Pitchford found it and retweeted saying, quote, Mycopunk is cheaper than a point of meth, probably has fewer side effects too, unquote. That didn't help either, dude. I just... Then he went on to say something about... He was on the stage at PAX East and was asked about the price, saying, quote, I'll tell you the truth. I don't know. That is the truth. I'll hit it straight on. It's an interesting time. On one level, we've got a competitive marketplace where people that make those choices want to sell as many units as possible, and they want to be careful about people that are price sensitive. There are some folks who don't want to see prices go up, even the ones deciding what the prices are. There's other folks accepting the reality that game budgets are increasing, and then there's tariffs for the retail packaging. It's getting gnarly out there, you guys. Borderlands 4 has more than twice the development budget of Borderlands 3. More than twice. So the truth is, I don't know what the price is going to be. Here's the philosophy we have. Whatever the price is, we're entertainers. Yes, we want to get more resources so we can make bigger and better games. There's a reason why Borderlands 4 is so awesome. It's because you guys showed up and supported Borderlands 3, and we had the budget. So we could more than double the budget and feel confident in that. And that's awesome. When the revenue comes in, we can spend it to make bigger and better games, unquote. And he keeps going on and on and on. He should have said that in the first place, realistically, and some people even said that online. And it's like, well, maybe when you clarify things and make, actual good statements in regards to it, instead of saying, if you're a real fan, you'll find a way. He followed up more again, which a lot of people said they were going to pirate the game, which doesn't help. But let me see. They put it in a Handsome Jack thing. He finally tweeted, though, and this is what he said, quote, in seriousness, though, nobody likes being taken for granted, and it was not my intent. I'm humbled by the love and support everyone has shown the team as we push hard to get this amazing game in your hands. They're crushing it, and I can't wait for everyone to play what's going to be the best Borderlands ever. Regardless of where the price lands, it's going to be worth it, and then some. Back to work for me, unquote. I still don't know if that's any better, my guy. Like, for real, dude. It's just... I don't know. Don't be a billionaire out of touch and make comments like that anymore. How about that? Watch your mouth. Naughty Dog has admitted that it's working on a second unannounced project in addition to the Heretic Prophet. Neil Druckmann confirmed in an interview with Press X to Continue podcast, saying he was talking about his roles at the studio, and Intergalactic, the Heretic Prophet, and things like that. He is co-writing the game. He did say this, quote, saying, "There's another game that's being worked on at Naughty Dog where I'm more of a producer role, and I get to mentor and watch this other team and give feedback and be like the executive in the room. I enjoy all those roles, and the fact that I jump between one to the next, it makes my job very exciting and always feeling fresh. I'm never bored," unquote. There you go. Naughty Dog is currently working on 2 games right now, one of which is their new sci-fi game, the Intergalactic Prophet, which looked really fucking cool at the trailer they showed. And we do not know what the next one is. The voice actor behind Geralt is calling out toxicity online about people who have an issue with the focus of The Witcher 4 shifting to Ciri. Doug Cockle has essentially gone against people and he telling fans of the franchise to, quote, "read the damn books," unquote. And following up saying, quote, "That's just stupid," unquote. This was in a video published by Fall Damage, saying, quote, "It's not woke. There's nothing woke about it. Ciri's a cool character from The Witcher, and they're going to focus on that character, and that's awesome," unquote. Now, I agree. I agree with him in so many ways. Just because they're switching to a female protagonist does not make it woke. Again, I've had this conversation so many times. I don't think people understand what woke means, and they use it as a catch-all term to just attack when they don't necessarily agree with something. And I haven't read the books. I really haven't played the games. I'm not going to complain. I don't have an issue with this. Like, Geralt doesn't live forever, I'm guessing. I could be wrong. I don't know how Witchers work. The counter with Halo, I'm just going to counter with Halo. Like, obviously the Master Chief is going to be around a lot because he's literally, like, enhanced. He's an enhanced individual. The fact that he's, like, in his 50s in the timeline during Halo Infinite and doing certain things, just, right? It's a sci-fi thing. And they've done games with different protagonists. With The Witcher, again, maybe in the books, Ciri takes over at some point. So I don't understand why you can't necessarily call it woke. And also you can't apply American sensibilities on things developed in other countries because they have different sensibilities and not morals, but different sensibilities and views of the world and things that are, they're catering to a global audience, but you can't call it woke if it's being done in Poland. And just to play devil's advocate here for a bit, what might be woke in America might not be woke in Poland. Like, it doesn't compute. Maybe I'm just thinking too logically, Cockle did continue saying, quote, "We just can't have Geralt for every single game for The Witcher ad nauseum, out through eternity. We've seen the end of Geralt's journey. Blood and Wine was supposed to wrap up that journey. I celebrate Ciri. I celebrate her being the protagonist. So all of you people who think it's woke," unquote. And that was a blowing a raspberry. He keeps going on and on talking about the books, and how, I guess, in the books it's like, yeah, essentially telling people stop being crybabies online. Also, he probably doesn't want to be Geralt forever. Clash of Clans is getting an adaptation. I don't know how a mobile game gets adapted. Netflix has announced they are working with Supercell that they will bring the Clash franchise to television, an animated series that will be set in the world of Clash of Clans and Clash Royale. It's already in pre-production, and Netflix has said, quote, "We'll build upon the mayhem of the games," unquote. And the plot revolves around, quote, "a determined but in over his head barbarian who must rally a band of misfits to defend their village and navigate the comically absurd politics of war," unquote. Yeah, no word on when it will actually release, but Netflix is deep in production on it already. Atomfall, that smash hit that's called Fallout in England, or English Fallout, was such a massive success for the developers that, and even though it was mostly a lot of Game Pass players, developer Rebellion said that it was immediately profitable upon release, and they are already already making plans for a sequel. They've not revealed exact sales figures, even though allegedly a large chunk of their 2 million players were from Game Pass. But they said that it's been its biggest launch ever in player numbers, and Game Pass did help, both via Xbox and PC. And that Rebellion, speaking with the game business, but it already made back all of its development costs, and the studio is already making plans for sequels or spin-offs, and still, though, focusing on post-launch support and DLC for the game already, which is wild. Good on them. Good on them for succeeding and making a good game that people loved and enjoyed. The game director of Avowed has left Obsidian after 10 plus years, to head up a new studio for Netflix. Carrie Patel has quit Obsidian Entertainment literally just months after her game launched. It was posted on her LinkedIn page, and she's joined the developer Night School, which is owned by Netflix and behind games like Oxenfree, saying, quote, "I'm happy to share that I'm starting a new position as game director at Night School, a Netflix game studio," unquote. So there you go. That's crazy. Worked over 11 years at Obsidian, and was in senior positions for Avowed, Outer Worlds, Pillars of Eternity, and she was the game director for Avowed. But interesting. She helped steer the game to launch and things like that. I wonder if she left on her own accord or was forced out. I don't want to speculate too much, but it's rare for a game director to leave their studio immediately after their game launches. So, the Pokemon Go Fest, which takes place in New Jersey this year, or did take place in New Jersey, has a $100 Premier Access ticket that will allow you to access a better bathroom. I just... that's ridiculous. That's really fucking ridiculous that you got to pay for a better bathroom. I don't know where the logic is behind that. Yeah, you get some extra stuff too. You get in-game stuff. It's not just that, but like it is ridiculous. This will take place the weekend of June 6th in Jersey City in New Jersey. No, we have a problem. This is a problem. That is a problem. id Software says that Doom the Dark Ages was their biggest launch ever. While no official sales figures have been released, the game came out last week, of course, and has seen 3 million players since coming out, which that's wild that's the biggest for a Doom for such an old franchise. Bethesda confirmed that Doom the Dark Ages is their biggest launch in ID Software's history by player count, getting to 3 million players 7 times faster than Doom Eternal did back in 2020. Doom the Dark Ages, of course, released on PC, PlayStation 5, both Xbox Series X and S last week on the 15th. 2 weeks ago on the 15th. Again, remember, I was on vacation for that whole time, so I have not been able to play it yet. Steam had Doom the Dark Ages hit a peak concurrent player count on Steam of 31,000. Wow, that's kind of low. Doom Eternal hit a peak of 104,000 5 years ago. But maybe that just means that Doom the Dark Ages isn't selling well on Steam compared to other platforms. It's interesting, though. But that just means maybe more people are on Game Pass. It's not a sales figure. Like I said, the 3 million, so I don't know. We'll see what happens. But they're saying it's a big launch for them. And speaking of Bethesda games, and Game Pass may be helping, Elder Scrolls Oblivion Remastered outsold the original Oblivion in the US in the first month. Which is kind of crazy. That's wild. In 1 week, it did more than what the original Oblivion did in 15 months. Circana, which is an industry analytical firm in the video game industry, that Oblivion was the best-selling game in the U.S. for the month of April, even though it came out at the end of the month, in dollar sales. Third best-selling game of 2025 so far. It sold more units in April than the original Oblivion did in its first 5 months. More money than the original Oblivion did in its first 14 months. That's wild. In second place was Forza Horizon 5, which launched on PlayStation. It up from 42 the previous month. MLB The Show 25 was number 3, Minecraft at number 4, which went up from number 11. Obviously, the movie helped with that. And number 5 was Assassin's Creed Shadows, then Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, which also went from 118th best-selling to number 6. Wow. And Circana analyst Matt Piscatella noted that 4 of the top 5 selling games and 5 of the top best-selling games on PlayStation platforms were all Microsoft-published games. The Last of Us Part 2 jumped from number 23 to number 13. Again, the show probably helped with that. And while Schedule 1 isn't on sales charts, but it did rank number 1 in monthly active users on Steam, Call of Duty topped monthly active users on PlayStation and Xbox. Look at that. That's wild. Those are crazy numbers. Senua's Saga is the next former Xbox exclusive to head to PlayStation consoles, and it will be doing so very shortly, if you've been waiting or wanting to play that. Microsoft has also announced that it's finally taking full advantage of its ownership of Activision and is bringing Retro Classics to Game Pass. Retro Classics with Game Pass is a new collaboration with Antstream Arcade and is bringing over 50 classic Activision games from 80s and 90s to Game Pass members, including Commando, Grand Prix, Kaboom, MechWarrior 2, Pitfall. Some games are as old as 45 years. That's wild. Games from Atari 2600, DOS, Amiga. There is a PlayStation section of retro classics like MechWarrior 2. So, yeah, there's only one game in the SNES section, which is the original MechWarrior. Microsoft has announced they will be adding more games and hope to expand the collection to over 100. But, oh my God, Caesar 2 is there. I can finally play it on a modern PC. Oh God, I love Caesar. I didn't realize Activision published that. Yeah, so that's going on there. Shigeru Miyamoto has opened up about the redesign of Donkey Kong. Of course, he created the character originally, and he still works at Nintendo. In a big interview that he did with IGN at Epic Universe, of all places, like I guess he was there because they opened a new Super Mario World and Donkey Kong Land at Epic Universe, the new theme park in Orlando. I did not go there. He was asked about the redesign and said, quote, "So when it comes to character creation and working with characters, I still take an active role in that. And looking back to the first generation Donkey Kong Country, we worked with Rare to create Donkey Kong Country. When we were talking about trying to create new versions evolving Donkey Kong, we created a game called Jungle Beat. We worked together with the team that made 3D Mario. With the technology that was available at the time, we were able to make Donkey Kong more expressive. And going back to the design that Rare came up with, we reevaluated what can we do with the design to make it more expressive. And then when it comes to the movie, we decided to move forward with this new generation Donkey Kong design," unquote. So it's to make him more expressive, I guess. That still doesn't answer the question, Miyamoto-san. PlayStation has announced that they will be shutting down their PlayStation Stars loyalty program after 3 years. Since its launch. The reward program will no longer accept new members as of the 21st, and anyone leaving their membership will be unable to rejoin it after the 21st. Reward points will be permanently deleted upon cancellation. Otherwise, existing members will continue to earn points until July 23rd, 2025, and you will be able to redeem them up until November 3rd, 2026. The digital collectibles will remain accessible for the foreseeable future. There is no end date on that. You'll be able to continue to look at your 3D digital model for a while. PlayStation, in a blog post, said, quote, "Since launching the program, we've learned a lot from evaluating the types of activities our players respond best to, and as a company, we are always evolving with player and industry trends. Through this evaluation, we've decided to refocus our efforts and will be winding down the current version of PlayStation Stars. We will continue to evaluate our key findings from this program and are looking into ways to build upon these learnings," unquote. Yeah, I think it was supposed to be an NFT thing, and it failed. The Street Fighter movie has a cast, finally. Still no director. The movie from Legendary Pictures has added Andrew Koji from Bullet Train, Jason Momoa, Noah Centineo, and WWE star Roman Reigns are all in talks to join the film via Deadline. No word yet on if they've actually signed on, but things are moving in the right direction. No word on who they will be playing, though. But again, there's no director yet. There were people in talks to direct it, but I think they fell out, and Legendary took over in 2023. All right, we need to talk about Battlefront 2 and its resurgence, which, by all means, I love seeing people play Star Wars games again. Battlefront 2 really came into its own towards the tail end of its life. It's hitting Steam records and things like that. I think it's been fueled by Andor and some other things. The game is 7 years old, by the way, if you guys didn't remember. And DICE stopped support years ago. But, and this has all led to people calling for Battlefront 3. There's a petition. There's actors from Andor supporting it. There's people from DICE supporting it. Here's my issue. I know this will help fuel the push for a Battlefront 3. But realistically, people, do we really trust EA again? Can we really trust EA again to do this? Or DICE? If anything, I'd want Respawn to make it. Or maybe give it to a different developer. I don't think the Call of Duty team has the bandwidth. And obviously, you know, when it comes to shooters like this, it's either DICE or Activision, right? Doing this, and I don't know. I don't know if I can trust EA again, right? And I don't think we all can trust EA. This is a really I think people are putting blinders on and they forget the nonsense that it launched with. And I have a really strong feeling that EA would try to pull these same shenanigans again, right? It's something that I think we all need to take a step back and really think about this before we all just say, "Oh yeah," and do it through our nostalgia goggles. I really don't think we're all thinking this through. And look at what it took. Look how many years and reworks it took for people to trust Battlefront 2 again after the launch state it was in. And the everything that just with pay to win and everything else and the DLC and how they treated everything, I do not trust EA. As much as I want a Battlefront 3, I do not trust EA. I do not trust DICE to execute it properly. And even DICE is like, no, the team is spread too thin. I don't expect it anytime soon. Like, realistically, even if they started development on a Battlefront 3 today, it wouldn't come out until at least 2028. Like, let's be realistic here. Maybe 2027 on a good day. Okay? I think we all need to temper our expectations, especially when it comes to Star Wars. I think we've all let our expectations run wild in regards to that franchise. Don't get me wrong, I would love a Battlefront 3. I would love to jump into a Battlefront 3. I do not want EA doing it. I really don't. I don't. And I know we've never truly gotten a Battlefront 3 at this point between the two Battlefront franchises, right? We're walking a thin line here, people. And I think too many people have nostalgia goggles on and are not seeing through all the way clearly. I'm hesitant and I'm being pessimistic here. Which EA's track record, right? EA's track record. Anyway, A24 has announced that they will be developing a movie based on Elden Ring, and Alex Garland will be directing. Yes, that Alex Garland is directing. The man behind Civil War and other greats from A24. I think A24 is probably the best studio. We're in a golden age of video game adaptations, if you ask me. But yeah, George R. R. Martin is attached to produce. We're going to talk about George a little later. Yeah. NetherRealm has announced that all development on Mortal Kombat 1 is over. No more DLC characters or story chapters, as they are shifting focus to their next game, which kind of fans were worried about when the definitive edition was announced, which is kind of sad. I thought they were going to do more, but I guess not. Got some other gaming news today. Not some good, some not so good. We've learned that Pokemon Legends ZA finally does have an official release date. So the Pokemon Company has announced that Pokemon Legends ZA will release on both the regular Switch and the Nintendo Switch 2 on October 16th, 2025. Pre-orders will begin on June 5th. And a new Pokemon Presents has been announced for July 22nd, quote, for the latest news and updates from the world of Pokemon, unquote. If you buy the physical or digital version of Pokemon Legends ZA for Nintendo Switch, you'll get the option to upgrade to the Switch 2 edition for $10 if you get the Nintendo Switch 2 eventually. The cover art was unveiled, things like that. So there you go. Having a release date is set for October. And then our last bit of gaming news. There's some other stuff, but I think I'll save it for next week. We're getting kind of long here. EA has canceled its Marvel Black Panther game and has closed the studio behind it, Cliffhanger Games. This is now the third round of layoffs from EA this year. See, look, already we're talking about EA again. They've canceled the Black Panther game and closed Cliffhanger Games. In an email sent today, EA Entertainment President Laura Miele said that the changes, alongside other recent cancellations and layoffs, are done to, quote, sharpen our focus and put our creative energy behind the most significant growth opportunities, unquote. EA is also, aside from closing Cliffhanger and canceling Black Panther, they're also laying off some individuals from its mobile and central teams. No exact numbers have been given, but just announcing the layoffs and closing and canceling a game is ridiculous in itself. Miele also said in her email that the company will focus on several core franchises like, quote, Battlefield, The Sims, Skate, and Apex Legends, unquote. They did reassure fans that they will continue to invest in an Iron Man game at Motive and the third Star Wars Jedi game at Respawn, and maintain its mobile business despite some of the cuts. And BioWare continues to work on the next Mass Effect. So, yeah, no mention of EA Sports or anything like that, but just ridiculous. More cuts and cancellations in the industry. Again, I will hopefully have some coverage of Doom: The Dark Ages next week. Now that I'm back from vacation and things like that. That is it for gaming. Let's head on over to Hollywood and see what's going on up there, shall we? All right. So there's news via Deadline that Millennium Media is trying to make a Rambo origin movie. And I'm very confused, because isn't that what the first Rambo movie is? What would the movie would the movie take place in Vietnam? I'm confused. The man doesn't need a prequel movie. This is the stupidest thing I have ever heard. So yeah, it would take place during Vietnam. We don't need this movie. No. There's a reason First Blood is so beloved. You do not need a prequel to that movie. Hollywood needs to stop big time. And here's another reason Hollywood needs to stop. Netflix is going to be bringing AI-generated ad breaks next year to its ad tier. AI, really? Jesus Christ, Netflix. Oh my God. Ray Fiennes and Kieran Culkin have joined the next Hunger Games prequel, Sunrise on the Reaping. Kieran Culkin will play a younger version of the character originally played by Stanley Tucci, Caesar Flickerman. Ray Fiennes will be the next person to portray a younger version of President Snow. They join Jesse Plemons and others in the film. Paramount has delayed the release of Aang the Last Airbender to October 2026. So that's a few month delay. Let's see. Tom Cruise wants to keep making movies till he's in his hundreds. No shocker there. James Gunn has clarified the DCU timeline as of now. He says that as of right now, release order is the timeline order for the DC universe, unless he says otherwise or something else contradicts it. Netflix has stepped in to save Sesame Street after HBO Max kind of threw it to the curb. But yes, Sesame Street is not ending. Thank God. It will now be available to stream on Netflix and PBS after HBO did not renew their deal at the end of last year. New episodes of the show will be available on Netflix, as well as the show's back catalog of past episodes worldwide. New episodes will also be available on their air day via both PBS stations and PBS Kids. So it's going back to PBS, thankfully. And Netflix is also going to allow subscribers to play games via the app and mobile device as a controller with Sesame Street Mecha Builders. This was a new deal announced on May 19th, saying Sesame Street released a statement saying, quote, "The support of Netflix, PBS, and the Corporation for Public Broadcasting serve as a unique public-private partnership to enable Sesame Street to continue to help children everywhere grow smarter, stronger, and kinder," unquote. There you go. They're going to do some structural changes as well, but Sesame Street will continue since its beginnings in 1969. We got a new trailer for Jurassic World Rebirth. We finally got to see the other new dinosaur that the cast will be dealing with, as well as the river attack, which was in the first book, but never filmed, and is now being filmed. Conan O'Brien has joined the cast of Toy Story 5 in an undisclosed role, which is nice to hear. The Last of Us television show may move on to, may get 4 seasons on HBO. The showrunner says that they don't have any way of wrapping it up in 3 seasons. That's Craig Mazin, the showrunner, speaking with Collider, saying that they would need more than season 3. But I don't understand how you turn one video game into 3 seasons of television. And can we talk about the drop-off of that show? I haven't seen a show lose its fans so quickly and so angrily in quite a while. That's pretty ridiculous. Like, the viewing data for it is insane. The drop-off and the people online, and first off, the people online, outrageous reactions. The season 2 finale had 3.7 million viewers in the US. The season 1 finale had 8.2 million. That is a massive, massive astronomical decline. That's wild. That is not good. That is not good at all. And people just turned on that show. It's hilarious to watch. Guillermo del Toro has clarified the situation regarding his Frankenstein movie, saying it's not a horror movie, which is a crazy thing to say. at the Cannes Film Festival. He said, quote, "Somebody asked me the other day, does it have really, really scary scenes? For the first time, I considered that it's an emotional story for me. It's as personal as anything. I'm asking a question about being a father, being a son. I'm not doing a horror movie ever. I'm not trying to do that," unquote. So it's a personal film and not a horror film. We got our first teaser trailer for Zootopia 2 featuring a blue snake, and everyone's trying to get the snake, whatever that means. George Wendt passed away this past week. Famously portrayed Norm on the television show Cheers at the age of 76. He actually passed away on the anniversary of the finale of Cheers as well, which is crazy. He used to be on Second City. I didn't know that. 6 consecutive Emmy nominations for Best Supporting Character on Cheers during his 11 seasons on the show. And he would also appear on Saturday Night Live. And his nephew is Jason Sudeikis. So, sad day. Sad day. Let's see. I'm just trying to. I wrote down a lot of things, and now that we're pushing an hour, I don't know if anything is really. I think I'm gonna save some stuff. Lilo and Stitch may get sequels. The live action might get sequels. Disney is very confident in it, but given the amount of money it made this weekend, I am not surprised, as the film only cost $100 million to make, but it made about $150 million this weekend. It beat Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, which is wild. And a lot of people are considering it the best live-action remake. So Disney is so confident in that, they're willing to make multiple sequels. I know we talked about George R. R. Martin before. He has joined the production of an upcoming animated Hercules movie. The Hollywood Reporter is reporting. And I don't think this man wants to finish The Winds of Winter. I don't think so. I really don't think he does. Zach Braff is joining the Scrubs reboot, which I take as a very good sign. Scrubs was a great show. Zach Braff was not on the final season, if I remember properly, which suffered after he left. But I'm happy to see he's back for the reboot. I hope they get some other returning cast members. And of course, I think the biggest movie news of the week, Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars have both been delayed by 6 months. Avengers Doomsday doesn't have to compete with Star Wars, Mandalorian, and Grogu, or 7 months. Avengers Doomsday will now release on December 18th, 2026, which is 7 months after its original May 1st release date. And Avengers Secret Wars is also moving 7 months from May 2027 to December 17th, 2027. Marvel also removed several upcoming untitled films from their release slate, as I'm sure they're going to be shifting things around. We'll probably learn more at Comic-Con in July. Release date of February 13th, 2026 is no longer getting a Marvel project. And November 6th, 2026 and November 5th, 2027 have lost their Marvel releases as well. This now means that Spider-Man Brand New Day will come out first, even though production on that film has not yet started. And I wonder, people are hoping this will ground the Spider-Man story a little more. Will it actually turn out that way? It remains to be seen. But yeah, Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret War both moved quite a long time. Let's see. Nope. Amazon has canceled its Wheel of Time show, despite apparently being well liked by executives. I guess it wasn't making the numbers it needed. So, yeah, that's interesting for them to do that. Wheel of Time. Marvel and DC have announced their first comic crossover in over 20 years, with the announcement of Batman and Deadpool releasing this November, which this is the first time since JLA Avengers in 2003 that the two comic giants have teamed up to release a comic together. Entertainment Weekly revealed it. It will be a pair of one-shot specials featuring the Dark Knight and the Merc with a Mouth. Marvel will publish Deadpool Batman #1 from Zeb Wells and Greg Capullo. Greg Capullo? Did he go over to Marvel? And DC will publish Batman Deadpool #1 from Grant Morrison and Dan Mora. They will also have backup adventures that pair more characters from Marvel and DC. This is, again, the first time they've done a crossover since 2003. It happens every once in a while, which... the strangest team-up, though, Deadpool Batman will release on September 17th, and then Batman Deadpool will release in November. They are already developing more one-shots for next year, but those characters haven't been revealed. I want to know how Batman and Deadpool are going to interact, because that's going to be very interesting for sure. In other major television news as well, the Harry Potter show has found its trio. They have cast Harry, Ron, and Hermione in new actors, which we already knew the cast of several others. Dominic McLaughlin has been cast as Harry Potter. Not much is known about him, other than he might be new. Arabella Stanton as Hermione Granger. She has already made her name for herself on the West End, I've heard. And obviously, she is not white exactly, so I know people are going to be fucking horrible online. And then Alistair Stout has been cast as Ron Weasley. Honestly, I think they looked the part from the picture they released. We'll see how their acting is. But famously, Hermione is not played by a white actress in The Cursed Child, whatever the play is called, the terrible play. I guess they're all newcomers, so that means they have not been in a major production before, or have not starred in a major production. Yeah, that's cool. The show is set to premiere sometime next year, so we'll see about what happens. Tom Cruise is praising the fans after what he's calling an impressive weekend. So the Final Reckoning made $200 million at the global box office across the 4-day Memorial weekend. Lilo and Stitch made $341 million at the global box office. This is all a Memorial Day record, which this is crazy. This was the biggest launch weekend of any of the Mission Impossible films, with $63 million domestically over the 3-day weekend, which was more money than Mission Impossible Fallout. And then The Final Reckoning made $77.5 million for the 4-day weekend. So about $190 million worldwide, which is crazy. On social media, Tom Cruise said, quote, "This weekend was one for the history books. Congratulations and thank you to every filmmaker, every artist, every crew member, and every single person who works at the studios. To every theater and every employee who helps bring these stories to audience. audiences, thank you. To everyone that works at Paramount Pictures and Skydance, thank you for your many years of partnership and unwavering support. And most of all, thank you to audiences everywhere for whom we all serve and whom we all love to entertain. Sincerely, Tom. Unquote. There you go, Tom. Thanks for being nice, man. Like I said, I didn't see it because I was out of town. I do plan to go see it tomorrow, so I will have a full review. I will have a full review next week. I think that's it, honestly, for the podcast this week. There was a couple other things. I want to save some stuff. I didn't want to go too crazy. Okay, I will add this. This is the final bit of news. Death Stranding is going to be getting an anime adaptation, Kojima says. But it already is getting a live-action adaptation. But now, ahead of the launch of the second game next month, Kojima says an anime is on its way. Speaking to Vogue Japan, in his collaboration with A24, saying, quote, I'm also currently working with A24 on a live-action film of Death Stranding. When it comes to film adaptations of games, there have been recent films like The Last of Us that keep the plot of the original intact, and films like the Super Mario Bros. Movie that are more like a service to game fans. Each of these works has its own merits, but as a film lover, I want to pursue expression as a film. I'm aiming to make Death Stranding in a way that can only be done as a film, and that will win awards at the Cannes Film Festival and the Venice Film Festival. In fact, we are also currently working on an anime adaptation, unquote. So there you go. Kojima just dropping that in. But that is it this week. Thank you guys. I know it was a bit of a long one, and I kind of rushed through some of the Hollywood news, but that stuff is not... some of it was just news, and I just wanted to cover it and give some thoughts on it, but it didn't need deeper thoughts. There is stuff I do want to spend more time on, but I don't want to give you guys a 2-hour episode of just me rambling. So I'll save some of that for next week or maybe for social media. I don't know. But thank you guys for listening week in, week out. Again, big shout out to Dan and Sean. Thank you guys for hosting last week, filling in. I hope everyone enjoyed that. Hopefully I'll get Dan and Sean back in here to have a discussion with myself. So yeah, that is it for Nick's Nerd News this week. Don't forget to check out the socials and the website, and I will catch you guys on the flip side.
This has been a production of Nick's Nerd News. Please do not use without implicit faxed permission. And yes, that means with a fax machine. Thank you, and have a nice